Welcome Chessbox Worldwide. This is a game between Alinange Danita versus Mwase Matthew in the black pieces. So the players go on and they have played. She goes on and plays. Bishop comes to c4. Pawn comes to e6. And now we see Queen f3. She wants to go ahead for checkmate. Knight comes. Oh my God. She goes on. She wanted to checkmate the reigning national junior chess champion, but she stops the queen in the air. She wanted to go for the scholar's mate, but because of this pawn, she goes on and just plays. Queen comes to d4. And now Mwase Matthew has to go ahead and punish Danita because of that move. Knight comes in. Now he's looking at the pawn which is on c2. Knight check, forking the rook and the king. So she has to do something about it. So many ways on how to defend this. Knight can still come to a3. The bishop can still fall back on d3. She picks knight coming out on a3. So it means Arthur has to be able to go ahead and find d5. Can be so interesting. It's an interesting move. But let's see if he can take an opportunity and time to find this move. This is not an easy move to find because now Danita is so excited. She's playing the reigning national junior chess champion who won the national championship with 8 out of 8. So now he plays a6, cutting off any knight or bishop jumps. He's planning to go ahead and expand on the queen side by playing b5. So Danita has to be aware of what is coming her way. She goes in and develops the knight. She plays knight comes to f3. Now in this position, b5 is a very strong move. It's a very strong move. There's a child there trying to put her hands in the board. They move him away. And now we see pawn coming to b5. Now the bishop has to find where it has to be. You have to put this bishop where it belongs. Either bishop coming to e2 or even bring back to f1. Those are moves you have to be thinking. So Danita plays bishop comes to d3. In anticipation to go ahead and push c3 to hit the knight which is in the center. And now Mwase Matthew has to think of a way on how to go ahead and move this. So the immediate pawn c4 is interesting. And also because now the bishop is looking at the knight and also trying to look at the bishop which is on d3. So pawn c4 is interesting, but let's see what it's going to play. He chooses knight e7, trying to develop another piece, because if you could have played knight f6, then the immediate pawn push on e5 would be not pleasant. So he plays knight coming to e7. Oh my God, Danita plays knight moves into g5. She's insisting that I want to checkmate you. I want to checkmate the reigning national junior chess champion. Matthew stops the checkmate threat, and now she has to bring back the knight on f3 because knights on the rim are dim. She plays knight comes again to the rim. Hope she's planning to go ahead and push the pawn on f3 and put the knight on f2, then go ahead for short castling. Those are all interesting ideas in the position, because now remember Matthew has already expanded on the queen side. It's just a matter of time for him to crack. So he plays pawn coming to c4, hitting on the bishop, trying to also go ahead and attack this queen, hitting on the queen, and then now the bishop will be taking the knight. So many interesting variations which can happen to be in this position. Pawn comes to c3, hitting on the knight which is on d4. Pawn takes bishop can be interesting, and also knight coming to g6, hitting on the queen. They can also be in an interesting move. Let us see what Mwase Matthew can pick on in this game. Mwase Matthew is the reigning national junior chess champion. He won the national championship with 8 out of 8. So this is round 2 of the Innovation Cup. Knight comes to g6, hitting on the queen. And now white has to respond. The immediate queen can come to g3. A simple move. Let's see what she plays on the game. Queen comes to g4. Now there is immediate knight coming to e5, hitting on the queen at the same time the bishop. Matthew finds it instantly, and now he believes that at least he has a win in his hand. Finally she plays queen comes to g3, but it's not yet over because the war has just begun. Knight takes d3, check. So king has to only go to one square. King coming to d1. She plays king comes to d1, and Matthew very pleasant and excited. He knows that at least he has this game in his hand. Now he can retreat the knight back to c6. King on d1 is good, so he plays knight comes to c6. Knight coming back to c2, bring back the knight to sit on e3. These are all interesting variations. She blunders a piece. She plays pawn comes to b3, and now in case of knight takes bishop, rook takes bishop, and now bishop can go ahead and win the knight, which is on a3. And I believe the national junior champion can be able to find it. He finds it. He plays knight takes bishop on c1, and after rook takes knight, and now the bishop is going to be taken. Yes, he takes the knight on a3. Now she has to go on and find the queen takes pawn on g7, or she misses it. She plays rook b1, a short castling. Yes, he goes on and castles. And in this position, Danita can go on and take the pawn, at least opening up for the file. This is the reigning national junior champion, so you can't just joke around with him when you want checkmate him in just the opening. You can't give him the scholar's mate. It's not easy. But now she goes on and plays pawn takes c4. So also Matthew has to go ahead and take the pawn. He takes pawn. He plays f3, opening up a square for the knight to come and sit on f2. d5 has been played, trying to open up lines. She plays knight f2, putting an eye on the pawn. So in this position, rook s7 can be thought of. For example, rook s7 is interesting, followed by rook coming to e1, e5, h4, d4. These are interesting variations. But after knight f2, he plays pawn moves in, d4, king moves away, because now remember, the king has been in the line of the queen. So pawn takes, and now she also takes the pawn to hit on the queen. So he plays queen comes to f5, putting an eye on the pawn. So she goes on and plays another nice move. She plays knight d1, protecting the pawn, rook d8, or even moving the king up. So she plays king moves up, queen comes to f4, knight has to come out. In this position, knight comes to d3 should be played. She misses it and plays pawn h4, and queen comes in check, and I can tell you this is almost lost. She plays king comes to f1, plays rook takes d1, and checking the king, and after rook takes, queen takes rook, the only move to survive is putting back the queen on e1, plays king f2, and this calls for another brilliant move. Matthew plays bishop check, winning the game on the spot. Danita can't believe it. He shakes her hand. Well, thanks her for playing. Thank you for watching.